At the evening get-together, my boyfriend, right in front of me, considerately shelled shrimp for his first crush who had just returned from abroad. Sorry, don't be mad, sis. Julian has always been such a gentleman. I arched an eyebrow, turned my head, and right in front of him straightened his buddy's collar, then casually dabbed the corner of his friend's mouth. Since you're so gentlemanly, I guess I'll reluctantly be the perfect girlfriend. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Julian considerately shelled shrimp for Lily while I watched. Lily smiled sweetly and cooed, "Alex." Everyone else at the table quietly studied my reaction. Before I could speak, his first crush opened her mouth first. Sorry, don't be mad, sis. Julian has always been such a gentleman. Really? Yet Julian had never shelled shrimp for me. Whenever I'd asked if he could, he'd only frown and refuse without hesitation, his eyes even carrying a trace of blame. "You know I hate the smell of shrimp." That single sentence silenced me. But now, the usually proud and aloof him was patiently shelling shrimp for Lily. Looking at her eyes and brows so similar to mine, what else was there to understand? Julian frowned at my reaction. "Rory, Lily doesn't know how. Don't make a scene." Where Julian couldn't see, Lily hooked her lips at me, as if triumphantly staking her claim. I raised an eyebrow and gave a slight nod, as though seriously considering. Since you're so gentlemanly, I guess I'll reluctantly be the perfect girlfriend." The moment the words left my lips, under everyone's gaze I turned and leaned toward his buddy Leo. I reached out to smooth his collar, then gently wiped the corner of his mouth. "How careless, you got some on your face." Julian's face chilled instantly. Leo was startled for a second. When it registered, his ears burned red. Flushed, he twisted the hem of his shirt and stammered, "Thanks. Alex." Julian watched the whole thing with lowered eyes. Even the hand-shelling shrimp stopped. His voice carried a thin edge of anger as he bit out my name syllable by syllable. "Orora." I looked back, all innocence. What? Wasn't I perfect girlfriend enough? His knuckles cracked, his stare several degrees colder. Julian's tone was laced with threat. "Aurora, keep making a scene and we'll break up." That trick again. I'd chased him for 3 years, at his beck and call, agreeing to everything, putting myself in the humblest place. So whenever we fought, the moment he mentioned breaking up I'd rush to please him. He was sure I'd cave this time too, but I was done begging. I laughed softly and said, "Fine." Something unreadable flashed in his eyes, fury, thick resentment, disbelief. "You." Before he could finish, Lily bit her lip, tugged Julian's sleeve, and whimpered, "Don't fight, it's all my fault. Please don't break up because of me," she pleaded, eyes red and brimming, heartbreakingly fragile. Julian couldn't bear her tears. He bent to wipe them, cooing softly, afraid she'd shatter. Meeting Julian's disappointed, blaming stare, I lowered my eyes. 3 years. This was the first time I'd seen him soothe someone so tenderly. And that someone wasn't me. My heart clenched on instinct, yet it didn't hurt as much as I'd expected. I suppose both my wild joy and my pent-up grievances deserved an ending. I stood and walked out. At the doorway I hesitated, turned back with one last shred of hope. Unfortunately, Julian was bending to cradle Lily, whispering comforts, utterly indifferent to my leaving. My breath caught, that final hope shattered. I turned and left. Back in my room, I swiftly blocked and deleted every trace of Julian. Why hang myself on one tree, especially a rotten one? Yet I never expected Leo to text me first. "Leo, use me and toss me aside?" Attached was a whining puppy memoji. Hard to picture nearly 6'3" Leo using such cute stickers. I apologized. He replied, "Leo, it's fine, I'm happy I could help. I've got a game this week, could you come cheer for me? I saved you a front row seat, please come?" With a heart eyes gif. I thought a moment and agreed. For some reason, from our very first meeting Leo had felt oddly familiar, though racking my brain brought up no memory of him. Suddenly my phone rang, unknown number. "Hello?" I answered. "You blocked me?" Julian snarled, I could picture his dark face. "Yup, problem? Anything wrong with that, Mr. Chase?" My tone mocked. "Can you stop making a scene? What more do you want from me?" I burst out laughing. "If I recall, Mr. Chase, we've already broken up. Why can't you be reasonable like Lily?" Impatience dripped from his voice. I laughed again. "Get lost." I hung up and blacklisted him in one smooth sweep. I picked a figure-hugging mini that showed off my curves. I have a good body, full breasts, slim waist, round hips, Julian never liked me in outfits like this. He told me not to wear them. I'd thought it was possessiveness, a sign of love, and secretly gloated while softly promising to obey. Now I realized it was only because Lily never dressed this way. Our faces are alike, but her vibe is delicate and demure, whereas I'm the opposite. I flicked my sultry, wavy hair, looking in the mirror, feeling free. Riverdale University. When I arrived, the game was about to start. The moment I stepped into the gym, the stands buzzed. Sunlight painted my face, giving my fair skin a warm glow. Wow, that girl is gorgeous. Seriously, look at that body, I'm jealous. I hadn't expected Julian to be there. One of his buddies nudged him, jerking his chin toward me. Damn, Julian, your girl, so pretty, lucky man. Julian didn't deny it. He closed the distance in a few strides. His first words were an accusation. Why'd you walk off without a word the other day? Lily blamed herself for ages. I lifted my eyes and gave an indifferent "oh." Also, he paused. His gaze landed on my outfit, brows knitting. I told you, that style doesn't suit you. I rolled my eyes at him, then turned and fixed my gaze on Leo. Leo felt my stare and glanced over. Our eyes met. The instant he saw me, his whole face lit up, a grin stretching across it. Warmth spilled from him like a little sun. Impossible to look away. Smiles must be contagious, because watching him I couldn't help smiling too. Julian sensed something was off. He frowned and followed my line of sight. He spotted Leo immediately. His expression darkened. You came for Leo? I shot back. Don't be ridiculous. If I'm not here for Leo, am I supposed to be here for you? He said nothing. The game began. Anyone could see Julian was singling Leo out at every chance, but Leo handled it effortlessly, never rattled. He streaked past a defender like lightning, hoisted the ball high with both hands, and sank it clean through the hoop. Leo's team quickly pulled ahead. The whistle blew, the game was over. Champions, no surprise, were Leo and company. I slipped past Julian, almost skipping, and handed Leo a bottle of water. Leo's laughing eyes locked on mine. He bent slightly, bringing his face close, white teeth flashing, pride tucked in his tone. So, was I Riley? His eyes sparkled like a puppy waiting for praise. I couldn't resist. I reached up and ruffled his hair. Riley. Super Riley. In the middle of the uproar I saw his Adam's apple bob, the blush spreading from the tips of his ears to the edge of his jaw. I laughed and blurted, "You're so cute." Leo is the easiest person to fluster I've ever met. Then, He hesitated. Finally he got it out. I like you. Can I chase you, date you? His straight pitch caught me completely off guard. His breath by my ear felt hotter by the second, his eyes full of hope and undisguised love. Before, I'd only known Leo as Julian's buddy. We weren't close. Still, every time we bumped into each other he always seemed a little flustered. I had no clue why Leo suddenly liked me, but the affection in his eyes wasn't fake. Julian cut in at the worst moment. Aurora, are you done making a scene? He glared at my hand linked with Leo's, anger barely leashed. How long do you plan to keep up this ridiculous act? Julian crooked a finger at me. Come here. I'll forgive you. If you want me to spend more time with you, fine, just stop this. The last word carried an unmistakable order. Behind him Lily stood with one hand on her hip, eyes full of contempt, like the main wife sizing up the concubine about to enter the gate. I glanced at Julian. His face was calm, not a flicker of worry. Of course, he's always assumed I was a sure thing. Julian, didn't I make myself clear? We've broken up. I don't like you anymore. You're finally free to be with the girl you actually love, shouldn't you be happy? I tightened my grip on Leo's hand. For once Julian didn't snap back. He studied my face for a long moment, searching for any trace of a lie. There wasn't one. When I finished, I tugged Leo's hand and strode away. That. Leo's voice piped up. I tilted my head to look at him. Sure enough, his ears were so red they looked ready to drip blood. He pointed at our linked fingers. I let go fast. Gave an awkward cough. He spoke first. So, can I chase you? The moment the words left his mouth I stared straight at him. Seeing me studying him, he grew jittery. Why are you staring? Is there something on my face? Crimson flooded his cheeks. He frantically swiped at his face. I smiled. Sure. He froze, then practically bounced when it sank in, beaming like a little kid. From that day on Leo brought me breakfast every morning, snacks, anything edible. His buddies couldn't watch anymore. One groaned, "Bro, no one chases girls like this." Other guys send huge bouquets every day, you haven't shown a single petal. What girl doesn't love flowers? How are you even trying? It was as if a light bulb went on. After that, I received several bunches of flowers daily. My roommate stared at the mountain of blooms in our dorm. Does he own a florist? This is crazy. At 11, Dylan texted to ask if I was free tomorrow. I hesitated, then replied, I'm free. He shot back, great. Sleep early, no late nights. Good night. I blinked. Leo messaged me every night, and whenever we weren't together my phone buzzed with strings of texts from him. Whenever I got sick, he was the first to show up. Last time I skipped breakfast and ended up with vicious stomach cramps so bad my face went white and sweat poured off me. When he arrived, not a trace of a smile. First time I'd seen him mad. Half furious, half frantic, he scooped me up and carried me to the hospital. In the car, pain blurred my senses, but I felt his hand clutching mine while he muttered, why won't you take care of yourself? You were like this before, and you're still doing it. After that he delivered breakfast every single day, rain or shine, and wouldn't leave until he watched me finish every bite. My roommates teased that I'd be whipped in the future. It made me think of the old me. I used to send Julian wall of text messages every day. All I ever got back was K. Once I had a fever, felt awful, so I called him. What did he say again? Aurora, I'm busy. Don't bother me. Then he hung up without a second thought. Later I found out Julian's so-called busy was picking Lily up at the airport. I realized the moment that completely chilled me wasn't the reunion dinner when he shelled shrimp for Lily right in front of me. That was only the final straw. Laughable, really. I chased Julian for 3 whole years. We lasted half a year before imploding. One night he showed up drunk, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me into his arms reeking of alcohol. His breath tickled my neck as he mumbled, so softly, but I heard every word. He kept calling, Lily. Swallowing the ache, I reminded him I was Aurora, not Lily. He stared at my face for a long, dazed moment. Then all he said was, let's be together. He never said he liked me, never made a single promise. It hadn't felt like a confession, more like an order. Back then I'd felt a flicker of doubt, but joy had already scrambled my brain. I didn't care about anything else. Now, looking back, everything makes perfect sense. A text came in from an unknown number. Aurora, I don't agree to the breakup. That's not a decision you get to make alone. Stop making a scene. Lily came back to the States by herself. She's still an orphan, she needs me. Can't you be reasonable? Reading it made me physically nauseous. I could hardly believe I'd wasted so many years liking this guy. Being a love-drunk fool really does ruin you. In the end you're the one left digging wild vegetables. 1,000 retorts crowded my head, but they all condensed into 2 letters, loser. I hit send. Silence from the other end. Then, you weren't like this before. I rolled my eyes and promptly blocked that number too. Early next morning I spotted Leo downstairs, clutching breakfast, standing as still as a wooden post. Not a word, just quiet waiting. He must have been there quite a while. I dashed down. The moment he saw me his face lit up and the smile rippled wider. I took the bag and asked, why didn't you call me to come down? He scratched his head, embarrassed. I was afraid you were still asleep, a call might have woken you. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sunlight filtered through thin clouds, glinting off the boy's face in silver sparks so bright I had to squint. Any plans for today? He asked cautiously, almost tiptoeing around the question. Nope. You? My phone buzzed. Roommate, dummy, when a guy asks if you're free he's asking you out. Date. DATE, get it? I could practically see Casey up there scolding me with that exasperated face. Bewildered, I glanced up, and nearly jumped out of my skin. Casey plus the other 3 roommates were squashed against the window, rubbernecking. Before I could figure out how they'd heard us, I noticed several of Leo's teammates lurking nearby, equally nosy. Me, are dorm mates the same everywhere? Before Leo could speak I cleared my throat, cheeks warming. Leo, let's go on a date today. His grin exploded. Deal. I realized I'd never actually been on a proper 2-person date. With Julian there'd always been 1 or 2 little sisters tagging along. Later, when the sisters vanished, Lily slid into their spot. I'd wanted forever to visit Starlight with just 1 other person, never managed it. Today, that wish was coming true. I towed Leo to Starlight. Ahead of us coaster screams rose and fell. I tilted my head, studying his profile. He blinked innocently back. A mischievous thought popped up. Leo, want something thrilling? Before he answered I dragged him onto the coaster. All that blushing had convinced me he was timid. After 3 rides he was perfectly fine, no shriek, no panic, while I was the one whose soul almost flew off. He propped me up, barely swallowing a laugh. Note to self, never ride coasters with Leo again. We hit nearly every attraction, my cheeks hurt from smiling. I hadn't felt this free or happy in ages. He was a walking mood lift, a pistachio in human form. At noon we picked a restaurant with good online reviews. The waiter handed us menus. Leo ordered first. Every single dish he chose was something I loved. Being treasured felt warm, tingly. "Julian, what's wrong with you lately?" A sugary fragile voice floated from the next table. Lily, no mistaking it. And the Julian she clung to needed no introduction. Of all the lousy timing. I didn't turn, I played invisible. Lily's sideways glance caught me, and she sashayed over. "Rory, fancy meeting you here." Julian followed, face like frost. His stare burned into me. "Why shouldn't I be here? Did you rent the place?" I countered. She pouted. "But this is Cupid, a couple spot." Her eyes flicked to Leo, heavy with innuendo. Only then did I notice the pink balloons, the sweetheart wall, the paired up lovebirds. So it really was Cupid. I smiled, slipping my arm through Leo's. "I'm here with my boyfriend, got a problem with that?" Leo's ears flamed crimson. Julian's chill thickened. Lily muttered something sulky. "Rory just broke up with Julian and already has a new guy, so jealous of how fast you move," she cooed. My gaze dropped to the bracelet on her wrist. I recognized it instantly, the birthday gift I'd given Julian last year. I'd scrimped, worked 3 part-time jobs, lost 5 pounds from exhaustion. When he unwrapped it his eyes were unreadable. All he said was, "No need for this next time." All that graft, and someone else wore the payoff. Even if the feelings were dead, the sight still stung. I looked away, calm, and ignored them both. Sensing the tension, the waiter hurried over. "Special today, any couple who kisses gets a free gift." Lily latched onto Julian, fluttering. "I want the gift, Julian." He frowned, started to refuse, then saw my amused expression and clenched his jaw. Suddenly he dipped Lily, planting a loud kiss. When he surfaced he checked my reaction. I hugged Leo's arm and fake gagged for effect. Julian's face darkened spectacularly. "No way we could eat now." I whisked Leo out. The instant we left, dishes shattered inside. I glanced back to see Julian punching the wall. Over lunch at a different place, we ran into them again in the campus garage. I spotted the bruises on Julian's knuckles right away. Small world, 3 meetings in one day. I sighed, reaching for the car door, when Lily darted over. "Rory, do you think this keychain is cute?" I caught the smug gleam in her eyes. I raised a brow. "Ugly, just like you." Leo snorted. She froze, not expecting the direct hit. Truth, the keychain really was hideous. The kind of ugly that hurts to look at. Lily finally caught on, and her eyes reddened again. Julian was still bending down to comfort her, but impatience flashed across his face. I'd just turned to leave with Leo when Julian grabbed my hand so hard I winced. In the next heartbeat Leo's fist crashed into Julian's cheek. Julian hadn't expected him to swing in front of everyone and took the blow head-on. He recovered fast and punched back. Within seconds both of them were bloody. I stepped in front of Leo and shoved Julian with everything I had. He staggered, stunned and furious. "You pushed me, for him?" I spread my arms, shielding Leo like a hen guarding her chick. "Why can't I push you for Leo?" "You protect Lily, so why can't I protect Leo?" "Julian, I know you love Lily, so I stepped aside." "Why can't you let me go? I'm not shameless." "I won't tell you forever like some doormat." Julian's shoulders sagged, his gaze conflicted. He reached for me again. I dodged, took Leo's hand, and walked away. Twilight. We strolled down the street, lamplight stretched our shadows long and thin. Leo asked about every slight I'd suffered from Julian. I told him everything, and for the first time the memories didn't sting. I felt the shift in his mood. I turned to ask what was wrong, and he hugged me from behind. Startled, I didn't pull away. His face nestled against my collarbone, and after a moment I felt dampness. "Leo, was crying?" He held me tight, voice muffled against my neck. "How did you let yourself get so hurt? Do you have any idea how much that tears me up?" His words cracked, half sob, half growl. My heart melted, I stroked his hair. Truth, my pulse was hammering. A 6'3" guy sobbing in my neck is not an everyday sight. Later he lifted his head, eyes red and wet. He talked, cried, 3 separate times, choking up at every injustice I'd swallowed. I knew laughter was inappropriate, but he kept crying mid-sentence. Hugging him, I giggled inside, so adorable, and he cries even more than I do. When the tears stopped he laced his fingers through mine. I blurted the question, when did you start liking me? He only smiled. I'll tell you someday. That day Leo spirited me off without a clue where we were headed. When we arrived I recognized the place at once, the orphanage where I'd grown up. I'm an orphan. When I turned 3, Mom and Dad took me on a birthday trip. A crash shattered the day. Mom shielded me with her body. She died on impact. Grandma took me to the countryside, but she passed a few years later. Neighbors whispered I was cursed, a jinx. With no relatives left, welfare sent me here. The building was long abandoned, the door creaked open at a touch. Leo squeezed my hand. Remember this place? Of course, but why bring me? And how did he know? Do you recall the chubby kid who used to trail after you? The memory slammed back, a little boy the others tormented, stealing his snacks, dunking his clothes, until I waded in, fists flying, proclaimed myself his boss and swore to protect him. His eyes had sparkled like starlight. Years later he was adopted. Months after that I found a family too. The child in my mind merged with the man beside me, same eyes, same warmth. No wonder Leo had felt familiar. Who connects a roly-poly toddler to a 6'3" athlete? He led me to a cracked wall where childish scratches still showed. I'll take my sidekick to conquer the world. My declaration. Below it, I'll follow my boss forever. I grinned, that had to be Leo. Suddenly he wrapped his arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder. It wasn't sudden. I've loved you the whole time. He was finally answering my question. Leo and I were officially a couple. He staged a public confession back on campus. I said yes. Someone filmed it. Leo's a star athlete. His buddies hyped the clip, and overnight it flooded every feed. Comments were unanimously cheering perfect match and goals. One remark stood out, pathetic. The avatar was an Alaskan Malamute. I blocked the loser. My phone rang, Leo's best friend. Leo took an elbow on the court, lots of blood. I shot off the bed and bolted for the stairwell. Outside the dorm an unwelcome silhouette blocked my path. Julian seized my wrist. You're with Leo now? I yanked free, red marks throbbed where his fingers had been. Yes. Problem, Julian? He paled. This is just to spite me? I arched a brow. He still believed this was revenge? Hilarious. You're still mad I shelled shrimp for Lily? Fine, I'll never do it again, just don't. I cut him cold. Stop. I'm busy, and I don't care anymore. Don't come near me. I sprinted toward Riverdale. On the court a circle of teammates surrounded him. Leo stood silent, face blank, blood dripping as if it belonged to someone else. The moment he spotted me the mask cracked and his expression turned utterly, heartbreakingly plaintive. He held me, his eyes brimming, the rim scarlet, utterly wronged. It hurts. I lifted a hand and stroked his hair, then bent to look at the gash. A long slit split his calf, flesh gaping, blood flowing without pause. The instant I saw it, my heart twisted, aching. Hospital first. I eased him up gently. The moment I turned, Julian stood a few steps behind me. Rage and disbelief rolled off him in waves. I ignored him and took Leo to the hospital. While the doctor dressed Leo's wound, an unknown number texted. So busy meant running to Leo? No need to guess, Julian. I answered, not your business, then block. The bandaging done, I ruffled his hair. How did you manage this? I'd winced as the gauze circled his injured leg again and again. Yet he sat there, laughing softly, eyes fixed on my face. I sighed, helpless. What do you do when your boyfriend looks adorably dumb? After I walked Leo back to campus, Lily messaged. The last line asked me to meet tomorrow at Brew. I knew exactly why. I spotted Lily the second I stepped inside. The delicate mask she wore for Julian had vanished, replaced by pure arrogance, 2 faces in one body. She placed the bracelet in plain sight. Recognize this? Looks familiar, right? I only mentioned it to Julian, and the next day it was mine. You do love picking through trash, I answered, smiling as I leaned back on the couch. Her smug face contorted. Trembling with fury, Lily shot to her feet and flung her latte in my face. Aurora! Why won't you die? You broke up, yet you keep throwing yourself at Julian. Listen, Julian only ever loved me, she hissed, eyes venomous. I wiped the coffee off, sprang up, seized her hair, slammed her head to the table, and slapped her hard. Her cheek ballooned. Ah! I'll kill you, she squealed like a hog, thrashing. Smack. Another slap, now perfectly symmetrical. The screech grew louder, drawing every server over. Before more people came, I emptied the second cup onto her face, yanked her hair, and flung her to the floor. While she thrashed like a lunatic, I walked out. Later Lily bombarded me with texts, swearing, mocking, every line filthy. I raised a brow. This was galaxies away from the fragile sweetheart she played for Julian. Wonder how he'd feel seeing his pure first crush like this. Since learning Leo and I were together, Julian spammed me daily from new numbers and haunted the dorm steps. Stalked by both of them, utterly sick of it. After some thought, I asked Brew for our surveillance clip and forwarded every one of Lily's foul messages to Julian. Then I sent Julian's daily harassment log to Lily with one line, "Leash your troll, he's not my type." After that, Julian's visits dwindled, and Lily's hate mail almost stopped. As expected, the two had turned on each other, arguing non-stop, too busy to bother me. Free of them, I felt lighter than air. My days now revolved around teasing Leo, never got old. Autumn had arrived. The night wind carried a chill. Late already, I tugged my coat tighter and headed for the dorm. Halfway there, a shadow leapt out. I startled. "Rory, it's me." Julian caught my wrist, liquor on his breath, nauseating. "Rory, I'm done with Lily." He yanked. I stumbled toward him. I flung his hand off, swallowing disgust. "Not my problem." He clenched his fists, voice almost pleading. "Rory, I was wrong. I'll never hurt you again. Can we start over?" I met his eyes, no hesitation. "No. Stop harassing me. Seriously, it's annoying." The last word drained the color from his face, his lips twitched. I cut him off. "Honestly, you and Lily deserve each other. If possible, hurry up and remarry, spare the rest of us." His eyes were bloodshot as I turned to leave. He reached out, only to stagger when a foot slammed into his side. "Leo." Seeing him, I dropped the cool act and ran into his arms. I glanced back at Julian, ice cold. "Final warning, come near me again and I call the cops." Stalking and texting, tired of it. Where was this devotion when we were together? Julian stood frozen, then trudged away, a lonely silhouette. After that, I never saw him on campus. The texts stopped. Gossip about them grew rare, too. The last I heard was years later at a reunion, over idle chatter. After she and Julian imploded, Lily latched onto a married mogul. The wife dragged her down the street by her hair and hacked it off. The man did divorce, and Lily became the new Mrs., but happiness didn't follow. He cheated soon after the vows. Julian's family went bust soon after. He dropped out and started drinking himself senseless, an unemployed drifter scraping for meals. I only lifted a brow, no sympathy. Suddenly Casey tapped my shoulder and grinned toward the door. "Hubby's here." "You vanished on trips, fine, but leaving the reunion this early?" I laughed. "Can't help it, guess I'm whipped." Snow was falling. The instant I stepped outside, Leo draped another coat over me, tapped my reddened nose, and laced his fingers with mine. "Let's head home. Thanks for listening. If you liked the story, hit like and share with your friends. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more, and see you next time.